Good Sunday morning, folks, and thanks for joining us on Inside the Valley. I hope you all are having a fantastic weekend. Starting off this morning, we are talking to the folks from FEMA and SBA. We want to thank you again for coming in this morning. I know this is your third visit with us, and we really do appreciate you coming in and talking to us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes.
And we want to make sure that survivors get the information they need to recover.
Most definitely. So we are joined here with Bob Howard. You're the media relations for FEMA, and we have Elizabeth Vargas. You are the public information officer for SBA. Now, both of you are working at various disaster recovery centers. Thank you.
There are now 6 disaster recoveries in the 3 counties. Jim Wells has been added to the disaster declaration. So we just opened 2 disaster recovery centers in Jim Wells.
Right, those just opened up, and you mentioned that about 20 to 40 people had come in already?
Yes,
Wow.
we were really pleased with the initial turnout of people coming in to get information.
Most definitely. Now, having it, we are in August now, and the floods happen at the end of June. Kind of what are people focusing on now, or what are the kind of questions or you're seeing now?
Well, there's a couple things that are really important right now. September 4th is the deadline for registering. So if people need FEMA assistance or SBA assistance, they should register and not wait until September 4th. Do it as soon as possible.
Right.
And they can do that on the phone. They can do it on their computer by going to disasterassistance.gov, or they can stop by one of the disaster recovery centers.
Right, and then those disaster recovery centers, sorry, that's just a tongue twister for me this morning. Those are located, as you mentioned, you have 6 different ones, is that correct?
There's 2 in Jim Wells County, there's 1 in Cameron County, and 3 in Hidalgo County.
Right, so what I'm going to do right now, folks, is I want you to go ahead and grab a pen and paper. I'm going to go ahead and give you the addresses to those various locations. That way you can choose which one is closest to you in your location, or if you still need to stop by. Now, the first one we have is the Weslaco Center, and that's located at the Weslaco Economic Development Center. That's at 275 South Kansas Avenue. And there's also one in Mission. It's at the Mission Social Events Center, and that's located at 115 South Mayberry Road. Now, we also have the La Feria Center, which is located at 1001 Pancho Maples Drive. And again, the other ones that you mentioned in Jim Wells County, Jim Wells.
One is in Alice, and the other is in Fremont.
Fremont. Wow, okay, and so now we are in August, like I had mentioned, and again, you said that deadline is September 4th. And so have you noticed that people have started to rebuild now and have started to get that help from FEMA if they did get approved?
Well, I think 2 things. Most people, right after the disaster, started their recovery process. We encourage people not to wait for a FEMA inspection. It's very important, particularly with a flood, that they start mitigating the damages, getting the wallboard out and things like that, so they don't develop mold in their house. Another thing that's started to crop up, and it happens in every disaster, unfortunately, is the potential for fraud and scams. And we want people to understand that FEMA will never call you and ask for personal information. They already have it when you registered.
Right.
And when you register, you get an application number, and that's your FEMA number. And so anytime somebody calls you and says, I'm from FEMA, you can simply say, what's my application number?
Right.
And if they can't answer that question, they're not from FEMA.
Definitely, and that's something that people should be wary of and trying to pay attention to. Like you mentioned, that FEMA already has your information, so they wouldn't need to be asking you for it. Now, that's important to note. Now, SBA, tell us a little bit about how the SBA kind of plays a role in this, and if folks might not have gotten approved for any help from FEMA, SBA is there to kind of
the long-term
Exactly.
recovery. Yes, SBA offers federal low-interest disaster loans to homeowners, renters, nonprofit organizations, and businesses of any size. We have a really good program, federal funded, And for businesses, they may borrow up to $2 million for any damage, physical damage or economic injury. And that is working capital for businesses to keep on going after the disaster. They may borrow up to $2 million for an interest rate as low as 3.61%.
Okay.
And for homeowners, we have $200,000 they may borrow to rebuild their home. And for renters and also homeowners, they can borrow up to $40,000 to replace personal property, including cars, which is very important in this
Right,
case.
of course.
A lot of cars got flooded. These both loans can be for a rate as low as 1.938%.
Wow.
All the loans are up to 30 years, and we have a 5-month deferment.
Okay.
So it means if they get it now in August, they don't begin paying back until 2019.
Right. And at the moment, are we still seeing a high volume of people coming into these centers?
People are coming in for several reasons. One is they have a determination letter and they need more information
Right.
so they can finish the application process. And that's very important that when they get a determination letter, don't just read the top. Read the whole letter, and it'll tell them what is missing. One of the biggest reasons they get a determination letter is that there's missing documentation, and so that's what the disaster recovery centers are there for. You can take that letter, you can take any documentation that it was missing from your application, go to the disaster recovery center. That person can pull up your application and make the adjustments that are necessary. The other important thing for people to understand is FEMA is not going to be able to bring you back to your pre-disaster condition. What FEMA's role is to stabilize a family, make sure that they're in a safe, secure, and sanitary living environment.
Right.
And that then gives them the time to look at what resources are available in the community for their long-term recovery insurance or SBA or other governmental or even voluntary organizations.
Right. Now, just before we wrap up, is there anything both of you want to add to people watching right now? Maybe they haven't made it out to the centers, maybe they did, or any last-minute information that you think they need to know?
Yes, in the case of SBA, it's very important that people apply if they are referred to us, because in case that we cannot approve them for a loan, we can send them back to other needs assistance programs that FEMA has, and they may qualify.
Yeah.
So it's very important for them to apply.
Of course.
And we encourage people, to talk to your neighbors. If they haven't, if they've had damage, haven't applied, and they're going to need assistance to do that. The other important thing is now to make sure that as you start your recovery, that you choose competent contractors. FEMA does not recommend or endorse any contractors, and so the homeowner should contact the Better Business Bureau, their city or county building commission, and to make sure that the contractor that they're choosing is licensed, bonded, and has a good reputation.
Most definitely. Well, thank you both so much for coming in this morning. I greatly appreciate it, and of course, I'm sure the public appreciates it as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, when we come back, if you're just wrapping up your breakfast and you're thinking, hey, what should we do this Sunday afternoon? Well, we have an event for you that's coming up you won't want to miss. I'll be right back.